going to give away a free t-shirt, ask and answer a question, and reveal the books I bought this week. How y'all doing? I'm Victor, and you are watching a Comic Hero Show. Now kick that intro! Edition of the Comic Hero Show. I'm your host Victor Nunley, and I am the Comic Hero. This month is Autism Awareness Month, and I'm going to touch base on that a little later on, but for right now, it's time to give away a free t-shirt. Alright, on last week's episode I asked which Batman villain was left out of the Batman TV series in the 60s for being too gruesome looking. Well, the correct answer is Two-Face. And 9 people have answered correctly, and because they've answered correctly, the name's been entered in the drawing for a free tee. And that drawing takes place right now. So the winner of the free tee for this week's episode of the show is... Fred Morris from Homer, Louisiana. So congratulations, Fred. You win yourself a free Comic Hero tee. Alright, here's the question for next week's episode, and this is a Spider-Man question. Which Spider-Man villain did Stan Lee originally want to be an ancient creature that was discovered in an Egyptian sarcophagus? Alright, here are the hints. The first hint is that this villain made his first appearance in the Amazing Spider-Man number 14 in 1964 and was created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. The second hint, this villain infamously threw Gwen Stacy off the George Washington Bridge in an issue of the Amazing Spider-Man in 1973. And then the third and final hint, this villain was the antagonist in the 2002 Amazing Spider-Man movie and was played by Willem Dafoe. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in the drawing for a free tee on next week's episode of the show. So, I gotta ask, any questions?
Questions I walk around in, questions I didn't thrive in, questions I will survive in, questions.
This question comes from Mandy Hooter from Bossier City, Louisiana. She asked, do you get tired of them remaking movies? I understand why they do it for the next generations, but ugh. Oh, by the way, her words, not mine. Well, Mandy, there are some comic book nerds unlike us. By the way, Mandy Hooter is also a comic book reader. There are some comic book nerds like us that avoid what comes on the big and small screens like they're the plague. And, you know, to each their own. My thing is that, you know, when Superman, the first Superman movie came out in 1978, which was 3 years before I was born, but I was still raised on that movie. And then Man of Steel came out in 2013. I was almost 32 when that movie came out. As a matter of fact, that was a few months before I started doing this show. And then they're redoing it again. And they're doing it for another generation because this younger generation may or may not understand the Snyderverse. I don't really get tired of them because that's just Hollywood for you. I mean, comic book movies have really been the norm for almost a quarter of a century. I mean, this all got started in 2000 with X-Men, and then another X-Men, then Spider-Man, then another X-Men movie, and then Marvel Studios got started 2 years after X-Men: The Last Stand, which was the third X-Men movie. Now I've seen some good movies and I've seen some bad ones, and I've seen some good stuff on the big screen. I mean, on the small screen. I've seen some bad stuff on the small screen. I don't know. I don't get tired of them per se, but I do have my preferences. And I do believe that the definitive Superman movie was the one that came out in 1978. But who knows? When the Superman movie that's written and directed by James Gunn comes out next year, maybe I or several of us may change our tunes. But I don't get tired of it. I know a lot of, Mandy, I know you get tired of it, and I know a few other folks get tired of it, and I know there's just some folks that don't even watch because, comic books tell the true story. I believe that. I believe comic books tell the true story. And a lot of these writers use comic books as guides to write, produce, and direct these movies. And, God bless them. But, no, not really. Because creativity is creativity. Well, except for X-Men Dark Phoenix. And then X-Men Dark Phoenix and X-Men Apocalypse. But anyway, yeah. All right, that was a great question. Thank you, Mandy, for asking that question. I was honored to ask and answer it. And really loving some of these questions that a lot of y'all are asking me. But y'all keep them coming. I'll have another one for episode 480. And they can either pertain to the show, they can pertain to the hobby, or they can pertain to me in terms of the hobby, or in terms of the show. So, yeah. All right, let's get to the comics I bought this week. Comic books I bought this week. All right, here we go. First up is Action Comics number 1064. The Amazing Spider-Man number 47. Batman and Robin number 8. Edge of Spider-Verse number 3. Fantastic Four number 19. Green Lantern number 10. The Incredible Hulk number 11. The Invincible Iron Man number 17. Ms. Marvel Mutant Menace number 2. Resurrection of Magneto number 4. Sinister Sons number 3. Speed Force number 6. Suicide Squad Dream Team number 2. Thundercats number 3. Ultimate X-Men number 2. Weapon X-Men number 2. And finally, Wolverine number 47. Alright, that's 17, which brings the total number of comics that I bought since December of 1997 to 12,821. Alright, well, I hope y'all enjoyed this week's episode. And here's a question again for a free tee for next week's episode of the show. Which Spider-Man villain did Stan Lee originally want to be an ancient creature that was discovered in an Egyptian sarcophagus? Now, here are the hints again. The first hint is that this villain made his first appearance in The Amazing Spider-Man number 14 in 1964 and was created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. The second hint, this villain infamously threw Gwen Stacy off the George Washington Bridge in an issue of The Amazing Spider-Man in 1973. And then the third and final hint, this villain was the antagonist in the Spider-Man movie in 2002 and was played by Willem Dafoe. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free tee on next week's episode of the show. And congratulations to Fred Morris from Homer, Louisiana, who won a free tee on this episode. Alright, now this month is Autism Awareness Month. Now autism, or it's also called Autism Spectrum Disorder, or ASD, is a serious developmental disorder that impairs the ability to communicate and interact. It impacts the nervous system, and the range and severity of symptoms may vary. Common symptoms include difficulty with communication, difficulty with social interactions, obsessive interest, and repetitive behaviors. Now, there are 5 major types of autism. There are Asperger's syndrome, Rett syndrome, child disintegrative disorder, Kenner syndrome, and pervasive developmental disorder. Now, early recognition, as well as behavioral, educational, and family therapies may reduce symptoms and support development and learning. Now, there are more than 200,000 cases per year in the U.S., which makes it very common. And it can be treated, but it cannot be cured. In my field of work, I have provided services for folks with autism, and I have learned so much about the disorder. And I've learned that it's not every person has the same symptoms. Not everyone has it to the same degree. And they see the world completely different than a lot of us do. And you know what? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I have seen instances, or I've heard of instances, where folks who don't understand a lot about autism, they'll try to condemn them, call them everything but children of God. And that is the most horrible thing I have ever witnessed. Honestly, I have nearly gotten in fist fights with folks that have done that junk. My thing is, if you don't know, if there's something that you don't know or you're not sure about, then keep your mouth shut. Otherwise, do some research. It wouldn't hurt. It won't cost you anything. And if you're watching this and you are autistic, or if you're watching this and you're the family member or a close friend or a colleague of someone with autism, I love y'all. There's absolutely nothing y'all can do about it, and this episode is for y'all. Now, this is an Autism Awareness Comic Hero tee. This one's a little different from the one I worn in years past. Instead of puzzle pieces, I've gone with Legos, because Legos equal creativity. And there are a lot of folks that I know with autism who are some of the most creative minds, some of the most brilliant minds ever. And inside a speech bubble, you have the brain pattern. Then here on the left sleeve, you have an awareness ring that says Autism Awareness. Then here on the right sleeve, you have a handshake clip art. On the one right here, it says Embrace, and that represents those that don't have that are not autistic but want to understand. And then Differences represents those with autism. And I put a lot of love and a lot of dedication in this one. And if you would like one of your own, you can find them on IamTheComicHero.com/shop for $17, and I will donate half of each purchase to Autism Speaks. And again, if you're living with autism, or if you're a family member, colleague, or a close friend of someone with autism, I love y'all. And again, this episode is for y'all. All right, here's the road ahead for the show. On next week's episode, I'm raising awareness of oral cancer. On episode 480, I'm raising awareness against child abuse. On episode 481, I'm raising awareness against brain tumors. And on episode 482, I'm raising awareness of lupus. And if you're watching this, or if you live near or far, and that was my phone, meet me over at the Earl J. Barbary Senior Convention Center, which is the site of the 4th annual Sinlaw Collector Con in Marksville, Louisiana. It's on June 1st, and it's from 9 to 6, I think. I might be wrong. I may have to look at it again. But I'm going to be one of several guests and vendors there. So I should have silenced that phone. But anyway, y'all meet me there. I'm not just going to sell Comic Hero tees, cups, hats, and prints. I'm also going to sell some action figures and a few other things. So y'all come out and support me. Y'all support this hobby. I mean, not this hobby. Y'all come and support this con. Sorry, folks. Y'all come out and support this con. It's a rather young con. And also, I'm not going to be there, but if you live near or far, come out and go to GeekCon, which is the only comic book convention in North Louisiana. It's on August the 16th or the 18th at the Shreveport Convention Center in Shreveport, Louisiana. Going to be a lot of great guests there. Tony Todd from the Candyman movies is going to be there. So y'all go and support it. Again, the only con in North Louisiana. All right, if you're watching this on YouTube, welcome. And as soon as you're done, hit subscribe. If you're watching this on a Comic Book Lovers Facebook page, welcome. And as soon as you're done, hit subscribe. If you're watching this on the East Texas Comic Con Fans Facebook page, welcome. And as soon as you're done, go on YouTube and hit subscribe. All right, I'm Victor Nolly on the Comic Hero. I'll see you next week for episode 479. So until then, be safe, be blessed, be a hero.